Well then, welcome to the Corolla. This is the first of only a couple of videos really, there's not much to do on this. But we'll start with sort of cleaning up the interior a bit and seeing where that takes us. So I hope you enjoy. Graham, I spoke to him about this. I'm not going to paint this side. I'm not going to paint the roof yet either. He said you don't actually notice it, but you do the bonnet. So what's going to happen here? I'm going to do the bonnet. He doesn't think that can be massaged out, and I actually didn't see there's a crease there. So that will probably not repair. You can get non-genuine one for $91, or you can just go to the Wreckers and get one for $70, I think. And it's a genuine Toyota one and it'll fit. So I'll just get a straight one. So I'll change that guard out. And I'll paint the bonnet. I'll blend it into the top of here. And probably re-clear as well. Well, I'll have to re-clear. I've got to see though how good I can get the match. Otherwise I'm going to be blending it into there. That can be done though fairly easily. We'll do the bumper obviously. I didn't even notice that this mirror's black and the other one's colour coded, so I'll paint the mirror. And also the door along the top here. And I'll blend it, then clear the door. And the rest of it I'll leave for now. I guess the first thing to do is to pop this rear wiper back on. I managed to get a blade for it. When you buy these things, they don't actually come with a blade. I just bought it because I already had one. I'll just leave it off to the side, I think. There's supposed to be more in like that. I don't know. Maybe it was there. It was over here before. Oh, we'll just put it there. It doesn't matter. It'll just stop anything getting into the motor in terms of moisture. I'm not sure what to do with this boot. It's a bit sort of daggy there, and I reckon it's been painted. But these Seeker badge stickers, I'm going to get a set of those. So I'll take that garnish off and I'll redo that because that'll add to the appearance of it. But as far as cleaning up's concerned, there's a few things to take heed of. One is the dogs. Okay. I've bought a new seal, well an old seal, for that. That will just come off. I'm not worried about that. I'll just pop this out for now because I won't be needing this for a little while. And to look at it, there's a few things. There's a few ways we can approach this. Just giving it a vacuum will make it head and shoulders better than it is now. Yeah. The plastics are in good condition, but they're just dirty, right? That seat's faded. That worries me a bit. We've got a seat belt that's good and then really faded, so it'll be weak in that area there. And everything's in great nick apart from there. That's what the Starlets do with Sun. Now that might not be Sun because none of the others have done it. But we can basically get just upholstery cleaner and just clean it up and it'll come up quite well. Even those carpets, you know, they're not outstanding. Do you like the Macca's chip? They're not outstanding, but there's a chance they'll come up a lot better than what they are now. So there's two ways to do it. Probably the most sensible way is to clean it up just with what we've got. We don't have to spend a lot of time. I don't think this car's ever been detailed. It's a one-owner car. When they clean these cars, when they detail them, quite often they use like an upholstery cleaning machine which sprays the cleaning agent on and has a suction to remove the water. But what happens is it all seeps down into the recesses in the foam where the listings are, and they're here along there. And the listings are calico envelopes with hardened wires that pull down and clip to the frame of the seat, and that's how it gives you that pulled in look. The problem with that though is the listing wires are hardened but they're not galvanized, and so they rust, and quite often they will rust onto the listing itself and create a mess. So that's the reason I tend to pull seat covers off, but I'm not sure if I'll bother. So I think really perhaps the best is to just use a bit of kitchen cleaner and a sponge and a vacuum cleaner and just tidy it up, and I reckon it will probably be fine just with that. Yeah, I lied. I'm not going to clean it up like that. Shifting stuff out of here to... I want these carpets, they seem to be a lot better than the ones I've got. And it's over here. I always think it's important if you're going to start taking stuff out of cars to sort of take them off properly and preserve without breaking it, because people just break stuff. Right, so just got to take that. What the hell's that? Drugs, no. You feel your age sometimes when you do this sort of stuff. So I'm going to braid carpets out of here, and I don't need that steering wheel, but I might take it anyway. What if we can see what sort of what's that thing called? The airbag. Quite a nice wheel. It'd be great on a Starley. It's the Sportivo, the Turbo and Levine wheel. I pulled this off. This looks like a bloody Takata, but these don't come up on the list. And I had a good look, and it's got all the right markings on it for a Takata, although it says somewhere something alternative to that. Where did I see it? Oh, Struth. I think it says, oh yeah, there it is. In that little bit there, it says Hearst Inflation Systems USA. So that is safer. That's why these cars didn't come up on that list. Right, a couple of notes. I've taken the airbag from this standard wheel, and they both look identical to Starlet ones, although this one's rounder on the shoulder. That's a Japanese one. That looks identical to a Takata, but that's Hearst. That's American. I feel, and that pad looks identical to Starlet too, in the shape of it and the type of bag. So I don't know why they couldn't source Corolla ones for Starlet. Not sure. That being said, this looks like quite a substantial airbag. The other thing is the combination switch. Graham said the indicator only turning right played up, so it's not the flasher can. I've seen flasher cans go on these things, but on this occasion I don't think they are. I pulled this out of that Levine, and it looks the same, and it seems to be more positive than this one here, but also it's got the driving light thing there, so you know, on the off chance we do put driving lights at some point, we have the right switch. So we'll just pop that back in, because we don't want kids mucking around with this stuff. I might just connect it actually, just a moment. Right, so another bounty. I'm not going to change that wheel, but I'm going to keep that one. I've also pulled the gear shift boot out. It's leather. It's a proper leather one. So this guy's going to charge me about $1 million for this stuff. So I think it's probably a good time now to go face the music. Here's a carpet from a Corolla Levine. Exactly the same as the Ascent. The Levine uses black seats and black door cards and all this sort of business, but the carpet's still great. It's the same, in much better condition than what's in the car. It is getting a little threadbare just around the corner of the heel mat there, but there's a hole in the one I've got, and the passenger side's a bit of a mess. I normally have carpet cleaner here. I don't have it at the moment, so we're just going to bang a bit of sugar soap in a bucket. And I'm tipping, that's probably a good amount there. Grab a bit of water and just scrub in some of those dirty areas. And hi-ho. That back one's a little bit grotty. So I've given it a power wash, and there's all this brown stuff It's really quite revolting. I remember watching a Top Gear episode, and the three presenters bought a used car each and sent them to a forensic scientist. One of them had nasal mucus in the carpet and the seats. Another one had pubic hair. And James May's one, I'm not going to say what his had in it, but it was infinitely more personal than that. It was gross. Absolutely disgusting. So, of power washers, just these things just take a little while to rinse. So we'll just continue to hose this out. Get rid of all that brown. I don't actually know what it is, it's not dirt. So I'm sort of fussy that these are clean. So best to just rinse these off. I've loosened all the dirt with the power washer and the sugar soap and just get rid of some of that brown stuff. A couple of bits and pieces here. That clock works absolutely fantastically. This is a CD player from the Records, and it seems to work extremely well. I can't have too much music on there. Well, it does have a problem if I eject the CD, and that's actually a burnt CD. But the cassette mechanism is very noisy. So the thing that surprised me, actually, I rang Toyota, and it's a big ordeal getting the code for the security thing. They can clear it off for $77. So there's no code on it, but you need the car. And also, even if you provide the old VIN number, sometimes the codes are the last 3 or 4 digits of the VIN. Other times the owner can set them when they buy the car new. Now, I needed to check it because I paid a lot for it. I paid $64 for it, which normally when you go to pick apart or one of these places, you don't pay much for these. You pay $20. But I went to Jolly's, I paid $64, and the reason for that was because I got a warranty, so if it didn't work, I could take it back. It's got a couple of knobs missing, but I've got another radio that the knobs will fit. But it seems that someone's already spent that money, or at least they never programmed it when the car was new. So this machine was very slow to start up, so I'm going to remove the top. I'll service it by cleaning the laser, the lens on the laser. I'll put some knobs on it, and I do need to. The cassette's terribly noisy, but I think it's worth still using. Yeah. So, oh, I haven't checked the dash lighting. Hang on. Does that work? Oh yeah, there's something going on there. I need to pull it apart and check it out. That's lighting up, but this bit might not be. But it's worth keeping. I just need to service the cassette so we can at least find out what's going on with it. In fact, this CD player came with this album from the Cranberries. So, I think it's the Cranberries. So that's cool. I haven't got this one. Bits of this car I'm checking. I've replaced that globe there. These two aren't working, but if you flick them around, they do. So I think we'll pop those out and stick a couple of new globes in. Now, those two have been sprayed, as I said, and you can see how dark it is. I think I'll turf that and put a new one in. These ones here, that green envelope just slides off. Right, we'll start him up. And one of the issues we've got is the handbrake. So there's a switch that Graham fixed. I don't actually know how he got into it. And that doesn't seem to be doing anything. So the bloke actually wrote in to say that it could be low brake fluid. And now I've topped the brake fluid up and it's sorted. So it's just it looked like it had enough in it, but it didn't. Right. Cool. The steering wheel's lovely. It's the same sort of material as a Starlet. It's easier with the wheels off, just to clean, where people's fingers have been, that sort of thing. A lot of girls use moisturiser and it traps a lot of dirt later on. And, I've marked where it goes. And another thing to look out for, some cars just have a spade terminal there for the horn. This one's actually, you've got to take the plug off before you remove the wheel. Otherwise you can damage the spiral cable or clock spring. Auto lift airbag. The surface rusty. I don't like that. This is a different brand. I don't think the one at the wrecker was Autoliv. It was a Japanese one, but it still passes in terms of not being considered dangerous on the website. The thing with these, any Toyota from the wreckers, if you get one and clean it up, this is what you're going to end up with. They're just that good, and they last so well. Some of the paint's come off there, but I don't think it's been pulled. I don't think it's been rear-ended. If it has, it drives fine, so zero care given. I'm going to take this off and replace. I'm not going to do it today. I've taken all the door trims off just because there's a lot of nooks and crannies that are hard to clean. I tried to clean the right-hand front one on the car, but you know, things like this, I just want to throw them in a tub with sugar soap. And all the sort of odds and ends inside. Some of them are dirty in the bins at the bottom, the front ones. It's just easier to do them with the carving bits, or with the interior taken out. So this is all fairly good. I'll give you a quick tour in here. I've just given it a bit of a brush and a vacuum. Speakers seem alright. They're not really high fidelity, but what do you do? Alright, so I've got to wipe that down because you see this sort of thing through the console. SRS wiring, down next to the handbrake, anything in a yellow envelope you don't touch, because obviously seatbelt pretensioners, and you can set the airbag off. The airbag on this one is Autoliv, which is Japanese. I took the surround off because it's easier to get the shroud, the top shroud off. These switches, just 2 screws, where are they, in the end, and the whole module slides out. So that's actually good. That's where the ECU is. The Starlet one's over there. This car is just a Starlet on steroids. Very, very easy to pull apart. Brilliant to work on. Brilliant car. Yeah. So we've got to clean it up a bit more. I will clean the boot mat. The carpets that we pulled out yesterday are fine. They look good. They're drying at the moment. Another thing, I think I mentioned before, good time to change any globes or anything like that that's blown. And this is what I like about Toyota. Everything's clipped. Every bloody 100mm or even closer. They're just so well put together, and that's why mechanics love them. That would be wiring loom for a Levine. Electric windows. I'm not going to bother with those. I could, there's some Contessas and, not Contessa, that's a mower. What are they called? Oh, I can't remember what the Corolla one's called. There are a couple of Corollas with power windows at the wreckers, but in a car this size, I don't think it's worth it. I certainly don't. I don't really want them, if you know what I mean. I don't need them. So, I'm going to leave this here for now. Just finishing off the boot mat. I actually forgot to do it yesterday, so now's a good time. Just getting rid of the rest of the, what do you call it, sugar soap. Very good condition by the look of it. That's a mat, it was a rubber mat that was underneath the Plymouth, and so I thought I'd just clean that up, and that will keep the carpet safe. Let's go and have a look at the old carpets. Well, the old ones I bought and cleaned. I like those shots. So these are the carpets I hosed off yesterday. There's a slight bit of dampness in the lower edge of the underlay. Yeah, that one's still a bit wet. We'll flick them over and have a look at the carpet itself. Doesn't look too bad. That's the front here with the heel mat. You can see the carpet pile is thin there. There's no holes, and sort of does need a little bit more cleaning. Particularly there's a little brown there. I was mainly concentrating on the passenger front. No, it was the left-hand rear that was full of the brown stuff. And that, oh, that's globe still there. That's a lot better. There's still probably a tinge of it there, but look, get it in the car, vacuum it up, let it really dry off, and that still looks a little bit discoloured. That's not great, but that could also be because that's still damp as well. But in all, they're a lot better than what was there. Carpets I pulled out. All of the stuff in the bin. Not terribly great. That's what I'm talking about. There was the back's not bad. The The front is in the same condition, but also it's got a hole. But the passenger's sort of pretty munted. But I don't need those. I'm going to chuck them out. I've got no room here whatsoever, so anything that's not, pardon me, essential goes in the bin. Flowers for Algernon. It was a film about a simple mouse, and they made a wonder drug to make it incredibly intelligent, and they were so impressed with that they tried it on a simple man, I think played by Cliff Robertson, who was the granddad in the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Anyway, he was a very simple soul, so they tried it on him. He became increasingly intelligent, and then of course the mouse started to decline and died, and then this incredibly bright man had to watch his own fate. Algernon is the name that April Newberry gave the car. It's always been known as Algernon. I was going to call it April because she bought it new. So maybe we can do a fun little straw poll, and I'll put a link in and you can vote whether we call it April or Algernon, or don't vote if you don't care. So I'm not typically going to get too many votes. Whatever the case, these are April's seats. And that's the passenger, that's the driver. They're grotty and they're dirty and all this sort of stuff. But one of the biggest problem, I guess, is the bolstering foam where you get in and out of the car. It tends to wear away to the point where it looks like this and you get gathered material. The best way to handle these sorts of things is to use a passenger seat from the Reco, which I bought, which is here, and it's got those. Initially I rejected this seat because of these horrible marks. I don't know what that stuff is. I'm hoping it's water soluble. I don't think it will be though. But at the end of the day, that side bolster foam is in very good condition, so I've bought it specifically just for the foam. So I want to find out what that mark is. I've just got a bit of water and a toothbrush and see if I can shift any of it. I don't know what that stuff is. It doesn't smell of anything, but it might shift. I might soak it. April's seat. Let's take the height adjuster off, or sorry, the recliner bit off. It's easier when the seat's in one piece. Move it forward a little bit and flick him over. Oh gosh. And pull it to bits. First thing I'm going to do is just crack these. And everything's just lovely. It's 8 by 1.25 in the thread. They just all pop out. And these are lovely and simple and quick to disassemble. These seats, they're great. Right, so we've done that. And then the whole cushion will come out by just lifting it and withdrawing it like that. Now these bits here, there's a screw in there which you can get out with the Phillips, but they can still be a bit tricky to remove because they're kind of wrapped around, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So there's little tongues on it. There's one there on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to pick that up and move that while I'm at it. And oh, this has one in the same spot, which we can kind of just lift, and then that'll come off. But you've got to kind of move it around a bit to release it. It's all bits of biscuit. That's what parents used to shut children up. You give them a biscuit, you know. Right. Don't know if she does that, but that's what I used to do. Okay, now I'm going to move this off, and this has got a couple of those little tongue things on it. There's one at the back here, I think. And it slides back. Hang on a minute, like that. And that whole thing, I think, goes forward and comes off like that. Sweet. Okie dokie. That releases, or at least that divulges, the bolts that hold the recliner mechanism, and I'm not sure if you can see that there. Over you go, eh? And we can just give them a crack with a breaker bar. They're quite tight. They're about 12mm thread, I think. Flick them over. I'm going to do the same thing here. Just give it a good sharp nudge. And there's a bar in the centre of the squab that links the two halves of the recliner together. And then that just will flop down. And you can sort of twist it around just to get the handle off the front. It's clipped on, but it's easier just to twist him around somehow, like that, and that'll withdraw. And you know, that's all good. Right. This one I wanted you to see. Whoa, nearly hit myself. I wanted you to see this one because this is the one with the damaged bolster. We can just actually... And I'm rather keen for you to see it. Onto the side cutters and twist these jump rings off. You can call them C-clips or hog rings, it doesn't really matter. And Toyota are the only manufacturer I know, and on occasion you see them where you've got these listings. Sometimes you can't get the wire out because there's a little what do you call it? Thing there. A little piece of plastic that retains it. Now this has been wet, this one. You can see that wire that I was talking about before actually gets jammed in there. So you've just got to wiggle it around to try and free the rust up from the fabric. Because in worst case scenarios, it'll tear. Now this side's free, but this isn't. And it's a pain when this happens. So you've just got to sort of move it around a bit, then you can get that wire out. And as I said, a lot of the time these are hardened, but you can see they rust. And I've seen them a heck of a lot worse than that. This one here is in really good shape. Then what we want to do is we're going to roll it down without tearing it. I'm going to push down on the bolster to try and get it started, rolling it up evenly up each side. That's not particularly neat. And then we go to the other side and we do the same thing. Push the bolster down and start to roll it up. And you'll find most of the tension when you undo these is on the bottom part where that thick foam is. Now another thing, when you go to put these on, they can be horrendous, particularly if they're stiff at the top. One thing trimmers will do is they put Glad wrap to slide it down over, but being this is at the bottom, we shouldn't need to do that. Right. Okay. There's a listing down here. Down there, there's two hog rings, C-clips, whatever we're going to call them. I call them C-clips because I worked at a trimmer years ago, and that's what they used to call them. There we go. Genuine ones are copper like that, or look like they're copper. And there'll be one around the back too. Right, turn him around. Another listing at the back here. And I'm just going to twist those off. That wire will withdraw as well, provided I don't get it. Yep, that's the way. And the headrest brackets, you can feel, you just push them and squeeze them together. And that will release the cover. And these headrest brackets, what I was doing is just squeezing like that and then pushing out. So that's cool. And then all we need to do with this guy, and this one might not be suitable to use because it's so stretched, but all you really need to do with that, I'm nearly finished, is stick it in the wash and just see how it comes out. But I'm sort of tipping it's not going to be fantastic in that area there because it does look a bit stretched. There's that one. The bottom one, you've got to be careful with these ones because they are really sharp on the edge. And I've taken these off before, off an Corolla, 112 Corolla, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we'll just, again, we've got a bunch of listings, but there's only really one external listing, which is this one here. Again, we're going to just pop that listing wire down and through, undo these stitched on rubber things. This is the messed up cover from the Reco. I haven't started taking April's apart, and I'll show you when. Sometimes you just got to go to a break and cut it. Just make sure we find all the bits. There it is there. Now these are bastards because that edge is exceedingly sharp. So you've got to kind of loosen it because it's sitting in a channel upside down, and it's relying on the spring tension from the seat to retain it. There are 2 finger tabs here and here. Well, there's another one there. 4 of them, I should say. There's one either side, and we need to bend those down because they lock it. Turn him upside down, and you've almost got to push down, giving you enough fabric, whoops, to release it. We'll do it this way. And when it releases, you'll know. This one's been really difficult to get off. They're bastards. Right. Normally, you push down and roll it up and over. So I'm going to push on the foam, get it up and over, like that. Once you've undone one, the other one's quite easy. Let's come out. And you've just got to be really careful with these. It's nice and smooth there, but it's really sharp there, and that's where you cut yourself. So the foam has got the listings moulded into it. So again, it's just a case of undoing them. There's 2 C-clips per part. So that's got a bit of rust on it. That could have been because this car, or the car this was out of, was probably sold through a dealer and they had it detailed. Or they've spilled drinks, but it's very consistent. So I'd say a detailer's upholstery cleaning kit did that. This is Ivy, and she will, whoa, she will chew everything, including all this foam, and those, and the back seats. I haven't done those yet. Got all these covers that we're going to go and chuck in the washing machine right now. And there's the other ones that need to be pulled apart as well. Right, here we go. Extra wash sheet. Turn that off. Sweet. Now start. Oh yes, Toyota seat covers are getting a good bath. And I put the really grotty one at the top, so we'll just see what happens. I haven't got them all in here. I've got the equivalent of 2 buckets in here. And so it's going to be a few washes between that and the back seat, but when it finishes, we'll pull it out and have a look. Started taking these seat halves apart. There's a little screw-in thing there and some plugs and that sort of stuff. Behind it, there's a little trap door and the seatbelt sits behind there. So I'm just going to pop this cover up too. Might as well wash all of them because you don't want to have like 3 clean ones and 1 dirty one. Having said that, I hope I don't wreck them sticking them all in the wash. I've never done it before, as in ruined one before. So therefore, should all be good. Right. Hang on a minute, I don't even know what that does. Who cares? Let's take more off. Reasonably rubbish lighting now. It's getting darker. What time is it? Do you know what time is, Rose?
It's 5.
5?
Yep.
Right. Just have to pull that seating belt out of it. So there's sort of a plug that sits in. This one I thought would be a bit of a pain because I've got so many bits and pieces to it. But I really want to wash it. This is actually the one, oh hang on, I forgot a second. This is the one that came out of the car that stunk of petrol because right underneath the back seat of the fuel tank, and somebody had taken the centre out. And in doing that, had caused the car to stink of petrol fumes. The trouble is, right, the releases for the headrests under here, and you've got to get something from under here too. Really, cockroach. Yeah. Hang on a minute. Let's film down here. See there. So I'm just going to squeeze that together. Squeeze that together. Get rid of the cockroach. Squeeze that together. That bezel comes out. These things come out. The centre one has locked itself back in. This was a messy thing to get off, and the one thing that's really bad on it in terms of its design, which isn't a problem when you know what you're doing, and I don't, where the seatbelt passes through on the other side, that is exceedingly sharp, and so you've got to be careful when you're taking the belt out that you don't cut it. Right, so I managed to snaffle another guard. It's great condition, genuine Toyota part, no dents, perfect. Except there is one there. And that's a bit of a bummer, but I didn't notice it at the place. I was sort of running my hand up here and all along here, and it all seemed pretty good, but it doesn't matter. It's infinitely better than what's there at the moment. Also got this hubcap, just one. There is one on the car that is broken a bit. I did see it. Boot carpet's lovely, cleaned up beautifully. Very happy with that. I might take the child things out. There's some aftermarket child things in there. And I can probably just give it a little bit of a vac in sort of, there's a bit of sand there, but otherwise it's turned out absolutely immaculately. A lot of time you pull these out, you don't know what you're going to get. That looks lovely, doesn't it? The one I'm interested in, let's put that there, is this. This is the original one from the car that had all that milky stuff all over it. And it was, oh wow, I got rid of all of it. Yeah, it was on the left hand rear bit. Hang on, it's got threads and stuff there, but it washed it all out. Oh, there's probably a tiny remnant of it there, but this one, this one's really good. Oh yes, the Tower of Corolla seat frames. Some of these are good, some of them aren't so great, just in terms of surface rust on the frames. So the better ones are going in the car, the others are going straight into the rubbish. Same with the foams. Some of them have been waterlogged, some of them are nice. We'll keep those, obviously keep nice ones and throw the others out. This is the last of the fabric I'll throw in the wash. These are the ones, I believe, out of April's car, I think. No, they're the ones from the wrecker. I beg your pardon. No, that's from the wrecker. This is out of April's car. So what we're going to do is we'll wash these. I've washed absolutely all of them. There is a Starlet rear seat cushion, which I'll strip as well, and I'll throw that frame out. I'm doing a bit of a cleanup. Whatever fabrics I don't use, I will throw in a box. Because it's easy to store a box and they'll stay safe, if you know what I mean. Whereas all this other stuff, I'm not interested in that. I'm sort of at the end of my wick with storing stuff here. So I need to put all these back in the car and get the car back together. I'm in no hurry, but I will. Oh, that was the fan I got off the rubbish pile. I don't know if I ever showed you. It was all rusty, so I got that grill plated. This thing blows like an aircraft. So we'll go and have a look at the covers, I think. The light's not terrific in here, but the seat covers have turned out remarkably well. There are some which I'm not going to use. That's a good one. That's a very good one. That's pretty good. There was one. Hang on, where is it? Oh, here. That's the original driver's seat. You can see where it's discoloured. That's just through wear and tear. That's the cushion for it there. And that's just the 20 years old of people getting in and out. That's where it was loose, sort of in that area there. Having said that, that will still come out. Those wrinkles will come out too. I don't think it's sort of stretched it particularly badly. But of all the covers, you know, I think that was the one from the record that had the dirty marks on it. But there's a set there. So that's going to be fine. That's the back seat. One of them, I think it was April's original one, had a small hole. Hang on, what's that? Oh, it could be this one. And I think, yeah, this is her. That's the original one from the car. It had a small hole in it. And that's where it was all milky and horrible, sort of all around there. You can still see a tiny bit of it where the machine didn't get to it properly in there, but you know, that will become a spare. I'll put some of them in a box, whoops, and store them away, but there's more than a good set there, of course. There's more over here as well. Not a bad idea at all when you've got an interior all stripped out, is just to have a look after it's rained. We had a lot of rain last night just to see if there's any leaks. This car didn't smell mouldy, so I'm not surprised there's nothing there. But it's not a bad idea anyway. So I'm going to leave this video here. In the next one, we'll start putting it back together. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. What do you reckon? Shit.